Yeah, take you to the jail. Yeah, come on. Come here. It's no make. We're all on camera, man, all the time. I know. Listen, I know how that works, the camera and stuff. Take me downstairs. Y'all can interview me. I'll tell you the whole story downstairs. Oh, okay. Well, we're just trying to figure out what the bed. We can go right through that way, right down at the jail. And that may very well be what we do. I don't know. We'll see. Okay? We're not going to do this.
They treat me like a dog in here. That's not a line from a defendant. That's the voice of a sitting sheriff, recorded on his own deputy's body camera, moments after he emptied his service weapon into a district judge.
Going in and open firing on a sitting judge in his chambers, and it's all caught on camera. And we have the footage tonight. We're going to show you. I want to give you a warning tonight. We're going to show it to you. It's public. It's a public record. You don't see blood or anything, but you do see the shooting of a judge by the sheriff, the man who carried the badge, the man whose job was to keep the peace, and he was known to everybody as Mickey. On an ordinary Thursday afternoon, September 19th, 2024, he walked into the courthouse where he had worked for years. He sat down across the desk of the judge, a man he had known for years, a man he had lunch with often. And on that very day, he pulled out a gun and fired multiple shots into Judge Kevin Mullins. It was all captured.
Exhibit A is the security footage from the Letcher County Courthouse, September 19th, 2024. Judge Kevin Mullins sits in his chambers, casual, and smokes a cigarette. The man walking in to close the door.
You can see there the sheriff walking in casually with some other people there, kind of pacing back and forth. After lunch, Mullins reportedly asked Stines whether they needed to, quote, meet in private in my chambers. Around 2:30 to 2:55, Stines entered the judge's chambers, asked everyone else to leave, and then closed the door. Now, this looks like a very casual conversation. The judge is smoking a cigarette. There's, 4 other people in there in addition to the sheriff. So I think he said we need to meet privately. And a coworker said that the sheriff, quote, walked in with hatred in his voice.
Isn't a stranger. It's Sheriff Shawn "Mickey" Stines, the man whose job was to protect that very room. What happens next transforms a courthouse into a locked box mystery where the killer holds the keys. Imagine a mirror shattering in an empty hallway. That's the visual of this case. A perfect reflection of law and order fracturing into 1,000 jagged pieces, where the man holding the badge and the man pulling the trigger occupy the same frame. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to the VerdictOrigin, because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. The official charge is murder of a public official. The grand jury indicted him. The prosecution has the silent, black, and white video of Stines locking the door, drawing his weapon, and firing 8 shots, pausing only to walk around the desk, stand over the wounded judge, and fire again.
Judge is on the floor, moving. Stines leans over, walks around the desk, fires more shots, runs out, fires again, runs out, turns back, you'll see in a moment, comes back in to see where the judge is, looks around, then picks up the phone on the desk, checks it, I think that was the judge's phone, and throws it back on the desk.
It's clinical. It's brutal. They had lunch together an hour earlier.
He walked in and they were really hateful voice, wanting to get out of here and to talk to Kevin in private. And we always kind of looked at each other because it's Kevin's office, so it was odd to me that he was telling people to get out of Kevin's office.
Right.
And we all just kind of looked at each other like it was weird. And Kevin looked at me and gave me that little smile he always did, like, who does he think he is, you know? And we got up and we walked out of the office. And
Colleagues described it as an ordinary Thursday. The gap between the monotony of lunch and the finality of execution is the entire case. The defense doesn't deny Stines pulled the trigger. Their filing argues he lacked the capacity to form intent. That single legal distinction between a calculated act and a catastrophic mental break is the axis this entire tragedy spins on. Or they treat me like a dog in here. At the parallel narrative emerges in the body camera footage immediately following the shooting. Deputies who've known Stines for decades are forced to arrest their own boss.
I'm gonna let it play out. I'm not gonna talk over it. I might cut in for a moment if there's something that I see that's interesting. But I just want you to see, imagine the commotion of this day, where you're in a small town. You get word that the sheriffs shot the judge at the courthouse. I'm sure it spread like that in a matter of seconds. Here's how one of the officers responded to the scene, how it played out with his body camera footage.
Standing right there. You're all right.
He's clearly running in there, trying to find the judge who's hurt. And in a moment, you'll see them attempt CPR.
First door on your left when you get in there. Everything's clear. He's down by. It's clear. Just kick it from that. Come on, Bird. He's fine. I got everything. They say he's down. So Jordan sees. Stay on the floor. Right, take a hard Glass. I got those. Go ahead and do whatever. One pillow time. We're in the whole drive. Oh, CPR. You're gonna need to Jay. Jason, where's your gloves? Let's oh, damn, he's good. Was there any more shooters? I told you, I don't know about second floor. You have to ask Chuck to go up there. I told him clear the whole way. We got I'm gonna clear those second way. I'm losing 20 buck out. Like Mickey shot him. I got you. Move it up, stop. Open the lock. Open the door. Give me in. Shut that door, lock. Look, come out. I got you. Unlock the door. Unlock the door. Got it. Lock up, Steve. Stay behind your desk. Okay. Behind your desk. Man, yeah. How are we? So what is it? No. Think we're gonna stay all the way? Coming back this way. Come back this way. Stay clear. I didn't know if anybody's laid up here. Jimmy left it over, so I knew Shelly was in there, but I didn't. And I knew those doors was locked. I locked those before I left.
The audio is disturbing, not for its aggression, but for its intimacy. Stines pleads with his colleagues. voice tight with terror. He doesn't deny the shooting. He doesn't express remorse. He fixates on one singular fear: his own safety in custody. He warns they'll beat him at the Letcher County Jail. He begs officers he's known since they were teenagers to keep the cameras rolling. A man who commanded a county law enforcement apparatus now believes, without evidence, that the system he represented intends to kill him in a holding cell.
Give me, man. Listen, I promise you. You've known me and him for, what, since we were 14. Okay, fair. And I promise you, this right here is
The Letcher County Jail, and they beat the hell out of me and kill me and stuff there, you know.
nothing like that, sir. They're not going to be that. I promise.
And I ain't got nothing on me now. Don't get me back there towards the active crime scene, me and the Fed. What $1 million, ain't gonna see me.
Oh, no.
Listen, the elevator's right there.
Don't they go down the Sally Port?
Car or anything.
Yeah.
Heck, you know who's all going on transport.
Me and him. I'll go with them. I'll be in the front. I'll fill the passenger. You'll be the driver.
I'm pretty sure that 3/4 is paying your gas.
No. Cameras will be, listen, I promise, Vicky. Cameras paid. Cameras will be on. Yeah, everything you do.
3 days earlier, Stines sat for a deposition in a federal civil lawsuit. The case, Atkins versus Fields, accused him of failing to train deputies on sexual misconduct policies.
Stines had to do a deposition in a civil lawsuit claiming he failed to train deputies on sexual misconduct policies that led to an incident involving a deputy and a civilian. The shooting occurred 3 days later. Whether those two are connected, I don't know for sure. But 3 days before the shooting, he was involved in the lawsuit. He gave a deposition. He admitted that he failed to train his deputies, on proper sexual misconduct policies, leading to some sort of incidents involving a deputy and a civilian.
That deposition is the ticking clock. What happened in that room that turned a sworn constitutional officer into a man who FaceTimed his aunt asking to speak with her dead mother? If the security video is the prosecution's smoking gun, the deposition transcript is the defense's buried landmine. They treat me like a dog in here. The irony explosion is contained in a single piece of evidence. When Stines entered the chambers, he placed his cell phone on the judge's desk. He used it to call his daughter. The call went unanswered. After the shooting, the video captures Stines returning to the desk, picking up the judge's phone, examining it, and throwing it back down. The defense has floated rumors that the judge had the daughter's number in his contacts. The daughter and her mother told investigators that they had no contact with the judge whatsoever.
There are reports about the judge having Stines' daughter's number in his phone. So again, reportedly, the judge had the teenage daughter, let me play that again, his phone number or her phone number in his phone. But these reports have never been supported by evidence as far as we've seen. That hasn't been released. Plus, the daughter, Lila, and her mother told police she had no contact with the judge whatsoever. So,
the rumor collapsed. But the image of a sheriff checking a dead man's phone remains a dark mirror of a cop reading a suspect's rights. The moral refrain that echoes through every motion filed since is unavoidable. They treat me like a dog in here. It's the paranoid cry of a man who has become the thing he was sworn to contain, simultaneously the predator and the prey in his own fractured reality. Is this the unraveling of a diseased mind, or the desperate performance of a guilty man who knew exactly what he was doing when he locked that chamber door? The prosecution has moved for a second independent mental evaluation. The defense has fought it. The state's argument is Blunty Stines knew right from wrong.
Now, Sherry Stines, that same aunt who I just told you about, testified for the defense and said that he stayed at her home the night of September 18th, the night before. She said, "I've never seen Mickey act like that," described him as erratic and paranoid, said he thought someone was going to be around his house and that he was taking a combination of Benadryl and melatonin, but had been awake for several days. She testified he watched his home video cameras all night, and moments before the shooting, she says he FaceTimed her asking to speak with her deceased mother. Again, he FaceTimed her asking to speak with her dead mom. Asked to describe his behavior in one word, she replied, psychotic.
She described his behavior in one wordy psychotic. The trial venue hasn't even been set because the presiding judge admitted he cannot fathom finding an impartial jury in Letcher County.
I want to pull this up and read you a little bit about what Court TV reported for the change of venue case, because they were there. The judge did say that he will likely agree to move it. Christopher Coron told lawyers for both the Commonwealth and the defendant that he would take the state's venue change under consideration and it was highly likely to grant it. He said, "This is a unique situation, to say the least." The judge added that he'd be hard-pressed to keep the case there, expressing concern over finding a different jurisdiction that was far enough away to be fair but still convenient for the jurors to attend. Can you imagine in this small town having everybody's got to know that judge and everybody's got to know that sheriff? And so you got to not only find the jurors, but there can be conflicts. I don't know the background on this judge, but if this judge was friends with that judge, can he be impartial? You'd have to find a judge that, like, from across the state that has no clue who any of the parties are or has very little interaction with them. The defense, though, has argued that they want to at least bring in jurors for voir dire, for questioning, for interviews, and they can get a fair process through this, but the judge seems skeptical about that. He said, "I cannot fathom the thought of reasonably being able to obtain a jury in Letcher County with the amount of coverage the case has received. It seems very clear that you've got a very decisive situation where you have Team Stines and Team Mullins. And these are some intractable positions that would make picking..."
This is a community split between those who loved the judge and those who served under the sheriff. The case is frozen in procedural limbo, exactly where reasonable doubt thrives.
What you don't see is a guy who would stop whatever he was doing, help a neighbor move a couch, unlock a vehicle, or help somebody mow their yard. It didn't matter how tired he was. The guy who would check on elderly neighbors just to make sure they had groceries, or shoveled their snow, or simply just sit and talk to him because they didn't have anybody else. You don't see the man who would stop and pick up McDonald's or Arby's or something for a juvenile that was on their way to a detention center because he knew that would probably be the last time they got fast food for a while. You don't see the man that would let the person smoke a cigarette or hit their vape before he booked them into jail or had to transport them to another facility. People don't see how he showed up for everyone, family or not. He was the one you called when you needed advice, when you were scared, or when you were stuck. This kind of thing doesn't make headlines or make it in the videos. The good he poured into his community, and he was the person you trusted and appreciated way before this moment ever took the narrative. I'm not asking you to forget what happened, but I'm just here to remind you that one chapter.
And then there's the daughter, Layla, who posted a Father's Day tribute online. The video isn't about evidence or motive. It's a young woman showing a photo of herself and her father, the sheriff, moments before everything collapsed. It exists outside the legal framework, but it reminds you that every exhibit admitted at trial will pull a family apart twice. The question isn't whether the sheriff shot the judge.
The Stines tried to call his daughter from 2 phones immediately before firing. The call went unanswered. The lead defense attorney, Jeremy Bartley, argues that the shooting was, quote, not something that was planned and occurred in the heat of passion, and that Stines, his client, lacked the capacity to intent to kill. The defense ties Stines' deteriorating mental conditions to the stress.
The security footage closes that door forever. The open question is what a jury will believe about the seconds before the door was locked. Was this a premeditated execution by a man under professional pressure, or the final break of a diseased mind hallucinating a threat that never existed? We've posted a link to the public court docket for the Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Shawn Stines in the description below. Look at the motion for change of venue. Read the language from the judge himself about the impossibility of seating a fair jury in that small county. Then tell us in the comments, can justice operate when everyone in the room already knows everyone else's secrets? If you want to see where this evidence leads, make sure you like this video, share it, subscribe to the VerdictOrigin, and turn on notifications. Because when that gavel falls, we will be here. And we follow the evidence, not the headlines.